Welcome to the Scene Snobs podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Scene Snobs podcast. I'm your host, Mick Manhattan, and it's Tuesday night, and I'm glad you're here or you're listening in a later time. I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. Guys are awesome. You're keeping us going, and we're creating new stuff all the time. We have lots of fun stuff coming up. You know, we got CFF 5 years of Fear. That's right, their 5-year anniversary, Carolina Fear Fest coming up. We're going to be doing lots of events with them, of course. We have lots of stuff. Sturdy and I are working on some stuff that I think you're going to be really excited about, some new shows I think you're really going to enjoy. So we're getting into that. We got just tons of things coming to the YouTube channel, and it's just been great the whole time. Just been a lot of fun creating. We put out a new show today. It's about a 2-minute show, and it's just a classic film review under the Snobs film history. So if you guys get a chance, go check that out, because we did it on the Searchers, and I have 4 other episodes are planned out, and they'll come out every week and such. Just something to kind of fill the void until we get back to Snobs film history, which is going to be coming back in June. I get to talk about classic, films, which going back to explore is a lot of fun for me. I always enjoy that. But overall, it's just a great time. It's just a great time creating. So if you guys are into it and you guys are enjoying what we're doing, we truly appreciate you. I hope you will join up on our Discord, hang out with us there. We got some great people. So please join up. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just get in it. Talk to us about stuff. And if you guys do like the channel and you're subscribed and you're hanging out, or you want to tell your friends, things like that. But we do have a Patreon. It goes back, helps us all out, helps us run everything, run the shows, with the editing, things like that, all the graphic designs, the whole 9 yards. Paid for all the monthly debts of stuff, like the StreamYards and things like that. But it's all to help build great shows for you guys to entertain. And I love doing this, but I love talking to people about certain things. So I was supposed to have a guest tonight. I'm not sure if he's going to be here, but fret not. I can't wait to talk to him. It's about his movie, The Mummy Murders. His name is Colin Bresler. This is the first movie of his I saw. I did go back and check out another movie called Remy's Demons. And he has a couple others that I have not had a chance to go and check out yet. I am very excited to talk to him when we get the chance. But we're going to change it up anyway. I think it would kind of be a bit of, anybody get the number of that bus that hit me sort of scenario. I don't want to do interviews anymore. I think a lot of you who, are loyal to the channel and the show and watch and listen and such, I think you saw last week, I burned out. Right in the middle of an interview, I burned out. And I just switched gears. Not the most professional, but sometimes the most profound. I'll tell you that. I've been doing podcasting for 12 years. I've done every aspect of it. I've been fifth mic. I've been third mic. I've been guest. I've been co-host. I have been moderator. All of it. And it's just, they're all different skills to run the shows, to keep everybody entertained. And I'm fortunate to work with a lot of other awesome professionals that also know how to take that up. If you're not, if you are a host of a show, never step into somebody else's house, podcasts, things like that, and expect to be a host. Either be a guest, or if they want a third mic, bring you back for another time. They're like, hey, just want to join in on these topics? You're a third mic. Jump in. Have some fun. But don't ever overtake. And never overtake. That is a big no-no. That's very unprofessional. So I like to think that while doing these things, I've been putting together good stuff for a long time from different perspectives and how I do stuff. And I hope you guys enjoy that. So if you do, and you see that, maybe go check out the Patreon. That's kind of where I was going around with it. But, it's down in the description below. Check it out. There's a free tier too, if you just want to have the updates and stuff like that. It's all on there. But definitely join the Discord. I think you'll have a great time. All right, guys. Since Colin is not here, I'm thinking, why don't we spin the wheel of absurdity? Look at that. It's right there. Let's do it, shall we? I love this thing. All right. What number we have? What number do we have? Number 32. All right. Let's see what our first topic is. What's the funniest comedy movie you've ever seen? That's a good question. So I often ask myself this quite a bit. So the funniest comedy movie I think I've ever seen, it's hard to say. So there's some that just stand out to me that I never grow tired of. I hate to say that because when I do, I feel like a lot of people get kind of uptight about it a little bit. Um, and what I mean is, I love Caddyshack, I love Animal House, I love Blues Brothers. I love those upper echelon comedy movies that came out that were just up there, but they're not the funniest in my opinion. I love them. They're not the funniest. I think most of Mel Brooks stuff is funnier. I actually think most of Broken Lizard stuff is funnier in certain instances. And to me, like Shaun of the Dead is one of the funniest movies of all time. Does it negate compared to movies that were centralized comedy? Who knows? That's a lot of questions. But for me, when I'm sitting there and I'm talking about comedy and stuff that makes me laugh, one that gets my comedy, what I like, is Wet Hot American Summer. I love the sarcastic nature of it. I love the embellished nature of it. I think I get the absurdity all the way through. That's the absurd comedy. That's my jam. I love that. I love the old school stuff, Laurel and Hardy, the Marx Brothers, Abbott and Costello, the Three Stooges. It's so absurd, and it's got such a message in it, but the absurdity obscures it almost every time. It's so wild to watch. It's crazy. But yeah, so if I had to pick the funniest comedy, I'm not going to pick. I can't pick the funniest comedy because each layer is different. So, like to me, A Wet Hot American Summer for an absurdist comedy is probably one of the funniest absurdist comedies I've ever seen. Although, don't sleep on Little Murders. That is a good one too. But how about this? What if I go by what I think has the best comedy in it? I don't even know if I can choose that. I mean, I will say this, as much as he's kind of known as being an asshole on set, but the early Chevy Chase movies just hit. They were just some of the funniest things. He just, even if he didn't understand he was funny, he knew how to make it funny. He did such a great job. I absolutely love that. And it just Vacation. God, everything in Vacation is just hysterically fantastic. So I don't know that I can name the funniest comedy of all time. There's just too many that pop into my mind, and depending on the mood I'm in, I do think that mood plays into it. If I'm take a gummy or an edible or something like that, I want to watch something like a Blues Brothers. I want to watch something like Super Troopers, stuff like that. But I'm not always in the mood for that, and that's more of a targeted sort of situation. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with right now. The funniest type of comedy to me is probably absurdist comedy. I love it, and I definitely love comedy that's sarcastic in nature, calling things out. I love that aspect in movies that you see too. I spin this wheel again. Get back to the wheel of absurdity. Let's see what we get. Here we go. Hopefully not number 32. And number 48. All right. There you go. So we got here number 48. What movie was the most impressive set design? Oh, man. God, that's such a tough question. There's not enough respect for art directors and set designers. There really isn't. And how much there's so many grand sets. And it's a hard question because for me, just looking at one, it's tough. I can think of tons of like sets that just looking at them, it's a thing of beauty. But now, if you want to get into the question of what is an impressive set that's being used, the stairs in Yankee Doodle Dandy, when he dances down the stairs, it is. I still don't know how a human being could do it. A great movie with Jim Cagney, if you haven't seen it. The Wizard of Oz was it was a very impressive set. How do I not talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street set with the spinning room and everything that kind of came from that? It's, oh my God, it's wonderful. It was just truly fantastic. Like there's throughout history of movies, like truly fantastic sets or like just impressive sets in general. Like I mean, if I'm gonna say any, and to kind of put this into a perspective where I can work with it, I might say that an impressive set to me is something you're creating without ever seeing. So like like sci-fi sets, yes, yeah, in that element you get to make up whatever you want and how it looks and things like that, but that's harder than you think. Just even from a writing perspective, writing about the future and what it could look like, that's harder than you think, because depending on your mood, you're either post-apocalyptic or you're hopeful, you're like Star Trek. So and depending on your story and like where you take it, like if it goes into space, how does that look? And how, yeah, because if you look at Alien, which is an impressive set, then you look at Star Wars, which is an impressive set, it's like I am more impressed by the artistic work that went into even the wall designs of the Nostromo spaceship that they're on in Alien. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the work that George Lucas and his team put into the models and things like that, and the sets that went into it. Both wonderful, but I'd almost respect, or I'm almost more impressed with something that had so much design input even when you didn't see it. So I would probably go with something like Alien on that. But like, again, like impressive sets, like there's so many. Some of the old visual effects sets that they had back in the day really astound me, like the Harold Lloyd pictures. It was Charlie Chaplin who did that really impressive set where he's like skating. I think it was Charlie Chaplin, I believe it was, and he's skating around, and there's the edge that's just has no lip, like he could go over at any moment, and he keeps getting closer and closer. Well, you pull away, I mean, that's just built to look like, and then perfectly matched up with the mirror, with the window that had the hole painted. I mean, that's an impressive set. That's an impressive visual effect for back in the day. I mean, it was really creative, and that wasn't like something you only saw in like the early 1900s or the 20s. We were doing that on movies like Escape from New York in the 80s. We were doing that all the way up well into the 2000s. I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't seen it. I don't know of much that have been used recently, because CGI is it's so more readily available. But yeah, that's some impressive sets. I will tell you, musicals have really impressive sets, because I'm always impressed with like a really good, like a Broadway show, or it doesn't even have to be Broadway. It can be just any type of play where you could tell the passion's there. They put it into the set. They build something really interesting. When they do that for movies, and they tend to take those musicals that way, they tend to make them bigger in scope and everything else. And I've always loved that. I've always been very impressed. Anything Gene Kelly was in, really, like, I mean, his sets always looked amazing, beautiful, but I don't know that I would consider him impressive. Impressive in terms of design, impressive in terms of putting it together, but like I said, there's practical sets that become the part of the visual effects that I think are just more impressive to me. So, I mean, there's a lot to it, but it's something like that. Like, that really makes you think. Like, that's tough. That's tougher than the comedy question. To me, it throws me off a little bit, but yeah, that was yeah. There's some definitely. I will tell you backdrops though, not so much sets, but when they're on location in places too. One that I was really impressed with how they caught it on camera, and this is more towards the cinematography than I think it is Well, no, I mean, and the production designers and the art directors definitely deserve credit for this because they set it up. But even like with how it was shot, and this is brilliance of Stanley Kubrick. I've been to Paris Island. My brothers graduated from there and such. So, and I've been and I visited and I've seen, walked all around. They captured Paris Island really well in Full Metal Jacket. So I just thought that was really cool. It's something like that. But yeah, then I just really like or they carried I don't even know if it was at Paris Island to film that. But I believe it was, and either way, it felt like you really were on a Marine base. There's a lot of movies where you don't always feel like you're on an actual base. Like if something, it just feels kind of off, or they throw elements into it. But this, like that movie, really felt like what a Marine base feels like when you're on it. So I was really intrigued with that. I like that a lot. And that's an impressive set, in my opinion. But that is a location. All right, let's see what we got. Let's roll her again. If you got anything that you guys want to throw out or ask, please do. Please do. All right. Let me get this situated. And here we go. Let's see what we got. Number 21. All right. See what number 21 is. Which movie do you think had the best casting? Ah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I know I'm on record as saying personally that I think that the truly talented actors when you watch a movie or a TV show are the character actors. And the more well-known the character actor, or the co-stars, usually things like that, the higher up they are, but you recognize them from a lot of things, the better the actor they are. So the more, if you know their names, they're a great, character actor. But if you just recognize them, things like that, or you're like, oh, that guy's and everything. To me, it's like that's like a level of like how this actor has impacted certain movies and things. So when I think about ensemble casts, like I'm not a big fan of the big A-list star ensemble casts. I think they're the worst acted. I don't think A-list stars, and not to trash anyone, but like I don't think A-list stars make good actors. I just think they put butts in seats, and and people want to watch them act kind of around themselves, like, and there's always exceptions to the rule. Like I've gone on about Nick Cage, I've gone on, and there are actors, especially younger actors, who are really like, they're not living to the star name. They're really just pushing as actors, and I dig that. But I'm talking like the older ones. I'm talking like Clooney's, Julie Robertson. Like they're fine, but they're the same in every movie. It's George Clooney I'm looking at. But like I can watch Richard Jenkins in like 6 different movies, or Bradley Whitford in or is it Whitford? Yeah, from West Wing. I can watch him in like a bunch of different movies too, and I'm not feeling the same role every time. He's not playing the same character. It's not that I'm not going, that's Bradley Whitford. I'm going, oh my God, he's great as the dad in Get Out. He's great. And he shows up everywhere, which is the best part. I would love, that's why like I get starstruck around character actors, because I'm so into the performance. And they always do. They always deliver the best performances. So to answer this question, even though I'm very thirsty, don't mind me. Usually a lot easier when I have somebody here with me. But everyone bailed. No, I'm just kidding. Little joke for everybody watching who's in that group chat. But when to think about what's the movie that I would consider the best cast. Oh, and also it depends on the movie too. There are some actors, Robin Williams, I don't think anybody else could have done his role in Good Will Hunting. Honestly, I could say that about a lot of Robin Williams movies, and not even the ones that were garnered towards him. But like, I feel like his energy matched the character as he was taken in. Just to give some praise to Robin Williams for a second. Rest in peace. He was a type of actor who he got a role, and yes, there were roles that were written for him, but like he would get a role, and he enhanced everybody on the set around him. Everyone was doing better. And he would take that role, and now I'm sure Mrs. Doubtfire was supposed to be funny, but we watch that and we don't think of any type of anti uh you know trans or drag note to it, or connotation to it, or we also don't think a pro um agenda, or one way or the other. It's because he elevates that to a comedy. He elevates that to a point where it's like he makes it so desperate. He's such a loving dad. He can't see past himself to just take care of business, get a job, do what you got to do. He's like, no, I need to be around my kids at all times. I need to do this. And then jumping into it. And that's what I love about like him. So like, to go back to this question of what's a perfectly cast movie, if I'm going around the whole cast, 12 Angry Men was perfectly cast. Excalibur was perfectly cast. The Thing from 1982 is perfectly cast. The Godfather 1 and 2 is perfectly cast. Like, these are movies who just like, they weren't even stars at the time. These guys stepped into the roles. These women stepped into the roles, and they were just like nailed it every time. And it's because they were working on a force. And I also think that if you're going to talk about a perfectly, a movie that has the best casting, look to the great directors. Stanley Kubrick, almost every one of his things is cast perfectly because he knows exactly what he wants. Alfred Hitchcock, the same. So yeah, if you're going to ask like what's a movie that's best cast, like don't go spouting off to me Valentine's Day or New Year's Eve or whatever other BS ensemble cast A-lister, because it's not acted. There's no real writing to it. It's just a factory machine. You know what? You want a really good cast, ensemble cast movie that has a lot of stars, but they're making fun of the shit? Go watch The Player. It's not a great movie. It's good though. It's very satirical, and I dug it. And then all those A-list stars are in it. So like, that's one to me is like they were willing to all be tongue in cheek, and I think because the amount of like amazing stars at the time in their life when they were so young, and they could get away with it because there was the 90s, and it was like there's like a punk sort of indie movement. And I think they could just get away with that, and it worked for them. But well, it really didn't, because the movie didn't do well. But it is a good movie, so I think everybody should check it out. Let's pull up the wheel, spin it one more time, then I'll get into my review and outro and everything. So let's do this. Okay. Here we go. Number 24. All right. Number 24. What we got? What movie do you wish had a sequel? Oh, I can name many that I wish didn't have a sequel. Many that I wish didn't have a sequel. That's a great question. I'm trying to think of something I would have liked to have seen the story extended on. Because there are movies that have sequels that I wish had better sequels, but with this question, I'm going to kind of go with the flow of it. I would say a movie that I wish had a sequel. Oh, this is hurting a little bit. What would I have liked to have seen go on? Whose story didn't end, or whose story ended that I wish didn't end? Oh, you know what? Actually, I can answer that. Guy Ritchie's and with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. I enjoyed those sequels. So, I'm going to say movies like that. Like, I enjoyed the sequel to that. I enjoyed the first one. I would like to see that continued. That's a really good pair. I know a lot of people arguing against Lethal Weapon 5 and whatnot. I don't care. Go ahead. Like, those are movies that I feel like warrant sequels. Friday the 13th, give me another one in the same line, in the same universe. I'll watch it all day long. Nightmare on Elm Street, same thing. Stop giving me remakes. On those, on the franchises, give me sequels. But yeah, I would think like if I really wanted one, a sequel, yeah, that's probably where it would go. Maybe another. Although they had a great TV show, and I'd rather them continue it that way. And everybody else is pretty much dead for the old, TOS. But I mean, if you want to count them as sequels, because I know a lot of people kind of count the next gen movies as sequels. A DS, you can't really do that anymore either. Yeah, there's nothing I really need a sequel. I don't know that there's much that I need sequels for. If it's been fucked up, it's been fucked up. I don't care. But if it's good, yeah, I'm in. Like, I'll buy it all up. Like, but and again, when I say good, I mean if it's a good movie to have a sequel on, if it's a franchise, things like that, sure. But no, I really don't want to see a sequel to Streetcar Named Desire. I don't. I think I'm done. I don't want a sequel to Clerks. I think the 3 were perfect, and I don't want it to go any farther. I think it ended beautifully. In fact, before that, I would have said I like the sequel too. I like the second one. I always dig it, but when that came out and how it ended, I was like, I don't know that I needed that. I was like, it had a nice closure, but I don't know if I needed that compared to the first. As I've gotten older and the third one came in, it's like I didn't realize how much I needed it. That's just a beautiful movie series. Yeah, I would just stick to the franchises. I don't need a sequel for any type of movie that's been told. Like, in fact, for movies that have been told and are clear, concise for me, if they end and you have a satisfying ending and it's good, I realize you guys are staring at the wheel, but and it has a satisfying ending and it's good, I don't want it revisited. That's why a lot of people are complaining about the second season of, especially right now with how good the fourth season is. People are complaining about the second season again and how poor it was. Again, it was rushed. I knew it would happen, but you got to take your time with genius writing like that. Say the same for Stranger Things, stuff like that. Too rushed. That's where it hurts you. That's where it hurts you. And just let the story go. Tell the story. Have an ending and just end it. Stop letting them get on top of you about it. But let's roll this one more time, and then I'll get into my review. All right. See what we got. See what we got. Here we go. Number 35. All right. Here we go. Take this bad boy off. Number 35. What's the most emotional movie you've ever watched? Ooh. The most emotional movie I've ever watched. That's a great question because I don't really think about it as much. Now, I have movies that can make me emotional when I watch them. But what's the most All right. I'm gonna take it back though, because there are movies that can, like, Field of Dreams hits me in the heart. It's a Wonderful Life, that end scene does. There's some, and so in fact, once I had kids, a lot of the dramatic kids movies that dealt with kids and stuff like that, and they're hard to watch. They're hard, they get you in the feels because you think about your own kids. But I'll tell you one that really made me emotional was in high school, and I didn't expect it. It was that what's his name? Batman. Michael Keaton movie, My Life. I was not expecting that to be what it was because I of course I know him as Batman, but I also knew Michael Keaton as the comedian. I loved Mr. Mom. I love there were so many Gung Ho. Like, we watched it all the time on TV as a kid. It was just one of those movies that just kind of, like, I watched it thinking, oh, there's gonna be some comedic elements to this, it's like the Dream Team. No, I watched it, I'm like, oh my god, is that movie hard and emotional and makes you think about not only your life, but the lives of the people you care about. Yeah, so if I'm going to go any movie that was stupid emotional, I'm going to have to say that one for sure. Yeah, that was just ridiculous. All right, I don't really care if you guys like those questions or not. I had fun with them. No, I care, but hopefully you're entertained. But let's get into our review. All right, so we were supposed to have a guest tonight. I don't know where he is. He didn't message me, so I don't know where he is. But I watched this movie, and it's called The Mummy Murders. So if you haven't seen it, that's what I'm reviewing right now. So let's get into it. So this is the Scene Snobs reviews. So I watched The Mummy Murders, directed by Colin Bresler. It stars Jason Scarborough and Lila Anastasia Scott as Joe and Alexis. So the story is told basically the characters of Alexis and Joe. Joe is a serial killer. Alexis is a top journalist in the city where this takes place, and she is trying to put together these connections, this weird string of like murders that have been occurring. And Joe walks in and starts to talk to her. They sit at the same table, they go through, and as he talks, he's telling the story about how he is the killer of these people, and he has all this information. And as it goes on, it becomes very off-putting in a lot of ways. Like it's one thing I will say about this movie is it's very stoic in its horror. I would not even classify this as a horror, but I do think if horror fans go into it knowing like this is more thriller-esque in the vein of like Interview with the Vampire, when people tell me that's horror, I'm like, yeah, I get it, they're vampires, but it's not really what we would deem horror. Like why do I get annoyed by that? I get annoyed by that in the sense of like, if I'm a horror fan, like I'm a film fan, so like this is a movie you should say, hey. But like if I'm going and I'm talking to some of my friends who host, horror podcasts, things like that, I might say to them, hey, listen, you should check out this movie. It's a horror movie, but it's just like a very stoic type of horror movie, more thriller-esque, and more in tune with the acting than it is with the actual, in most horror movies, some gore, some, action, things like that. So as I think about that, that's what I do when I send it. So when I get sent to me and they're like, oh, it's a horror movie, I'm like, this is not a horror movie. It is a horror movie. I almost call it like a stoic horror. And other examples of that, of course, are like Crimson Peak, or I said Interview with Vampire, stuff like that. Like horror movies where yes, there's horror elements to it. I would actually put this more on par with was it Little Things? The Little Things, the movie that came out with Denzel and Rami Malek and Jared Leto and such. I would put it on that level of the type of horror it is. It's very, and that's a good level to be on. I think this is a good movie. I enjoyed my watch of it. I really like the element, the back and forth, the chemistry between Joe and Alexis in the movie. The two actors do a really good job in that, playing off of each other, sort of this cat and mouse, but at the same time showing a level of respect for each other, but inquiring in great ways. The dialogue really flows well between them. And then the cuts between, as he's telling a story of the horrific murders he's putting in, how it's his art and things like that. I thought that was a cool element to it. And I'll tell you, the ending got me. I did not expect it to end the way it did. And that is something that gets major points for me. So if I can watch a movie and by the end, I'm not saying it was like a completely unforeseeable ending, but because of certain choices, certain elements, even though we've talked about this, the things, the ending and how it would kind of go down, it was very interesting. It was such an intriguing way to end it. I do have some things about it though. I will say this: it frames shot really well. Your shots are framed well. Lighting's very natural. Sometimes I saw some very harsh shadows that kind of took me out of it because I thought it meant it just like at certain times, some of those harsh shadows, I thought there was somebody else in the background, and I was like, oh, there's another layer to this scene. And then it turned out it wasn't. It was just more harsher shadows. But that doesn't take me out of it. The story kept me in. It's kept me very intrigued. Again, the way they Alexis and Joe in the diner leave things off, it's very well timed, very well paced. Seeing Alexis race back to do her thing, it's just really well done. The only thing I would say about the ending, and I don't want to give anything away, is like we see a character at the very end to kind of give closure to that character. And I feel like doing that took away from every other point we saw him in the movie. Like how it left off, where everything sort of went and how it played out. Like I feel seeing that character took away from that from the last time we saw the character. I knew it was going down. So yeah, overall, really, I would say go check this out. This is a very solid, indie movie for me. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. I think this is, if it's on, you want to check it out. You want to check out something new, support indie. This is a good one to go with. Remy's Demons was pretty good too. And it was cool to watch like 2 movies ago. He came out with that in 2020. It was cool to see that movie and how I haven't watched No Promised Land, I think it's called, his second movie, which looks interesting, or his movie after that, right before this one. To see the jump in the filmmaking, it was very cool. So Colin Bressler, that was, you did a good job with this movie. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for giving it to me to review and check out and such. And yeah, I'd love to talk about it a little bit more. But I also have a mixed movie pick from 1971 tonight. So we're going to finish out the show with that. And my mixed movie pick is Godzilla versus Hedorah. That's right. I've been watching a lot of Godzilla lately. As you know, we have our miniseries going on. It's a 16-parter. We're watching all 40 films, 2 TV shows, and we're just going to go through the whole thing and talk about it. And each week we get together and we talk about a few of the movies. This past week, on this last episode, we talked about Godzilla versus Hedorah. This one, I think, gets a bad rap, and I wanted to throw it on here because it's worth checking out. The animations in it are really clever. The story can be watched by kids, and they can get it. But there's also elements for adults where it's kind of like it's funky, it's weird, and I think horror fans will really enjoy it. This is also commonly known in the dubbed version in America as Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. It gets a bad rap, but I really do think this is one is worth checking out again, especially considering all of the creature designs in it that Godzilla has to fight. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining in tonight, being a part of it, hanging out with me. I'm sorry my co-host couldn't be here. And I'm sorry to Colin Bressler. I'm sorry he couldn't be here either. But thank you guys so much for showing up, hanging out, having fun, just being cool with the show and us and hanging out in the Snob Society over on Discord. Make sure you join up. Go check out everything else we have going on. Of course, if you like the logo shirts or the Godzilla shirt or all the other designs we have, movie designs and things like that, go to snobsmerch.com. It's down below. We also have a special promo code down there, and you can get 10% off your order. Go check it out. But thanks again so much for joining in. You guys have been fantastic. I'm Mick Manhattan from the Scene Snobs. Go check out, like, follow, subscribe, the whole 9 yards, because you're going to also want to hit that bell because we have great shows coming out every day, all the time. So thank you so much for joining in. Until next time, remember to be kind, stay classy, take care of yourselves because that's important. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.